I was only gonna watch one movie tonight, and then in tradition, I ended up watching two from the same director because I fell down a rabbit hole, and we had like six from this director, but I watched two. One of which is not on home video in America. The other of which, when I was reading about the director, just sounded so amazing. I had to watch it, and I'm really glad I did because I loved it. So the first one is Peppermint Frappé. It's from 1967, and it was Carlos Saura's, I think, third or fourth film, but the first to really bring him to prominence both as in his own country and internationally. It stars Geraldine Chaplin, who at the time was in a relationship with Saura. They were together for about 10 years, made several films together. Geraldine Chaplin is like one of the greatest performers of all time and can act in any language. And by any language, I mean English, French, and Spanish, but she can act in three languages. And she's so brilliant in everything. Um, so this film is sort of I hate talking about a film in relation to other films, but it's helpful in some cases. So this film is sort of like if Louis Buñuel made Vertigo, in that it's about a man's obsession with a woman who reminds him of something from his past and his desire to manipulate another woman in his life when the initial woman rejects him. Um, but it also has a sharp social satire element to it, as this was made in the sort of deep, towards the end of the fascist reign of Franco in Spain. And so you had a lot of repression and oppression and a lot of artists making art to contradict the oppression that they were facing, but they had to do it in ways that got past the censors. And so they would construct stories and things that were allegories for what was happening in their country, but were so far removed that it didn't seem like that's what they were doing. So in this case, it's a psychosexual thriller that's also commentary on what is happening contemporarily in Saura's Spain. I had to read a bunch in order to understand what was happening. So this is a film you can't exactly come into getting that layer without reading about the film either before or after. The layer that's on the surface, though, is pretty easily accessible, and thankfully, because of the ending, I didn't hate it. So part of the reason I don't like Vertigo is other than Millie, who is done way dirty, the women in Vertigo don't really get a lot of agency. The Kim Novak characters in Vertigo don't get a lot of agency in and of themselves. In this film, one of the women has a little agency. I think she knows what she's doing. The other one feels highly manipulated until you get towards the end, and then you realize that she's manipulating the guy into manipulating her, and it's amazing. And it made me it took the film from me going oh to me going oh yeah. So it's always good when you stick with a film that you're not sure if you're gonna like it, and then the ending like sticks the landing so hard that you're like, yes, this is a great film. So that's Peppermint Frappe. It made me want to drink a peppermint frappe, and then I looked it up, and it's literally just creme de menthe with crushed ice. So it's like the laziest cocktail ever. It's not even a cocktail. I think you have to mix two things to technically be a cocktail, and ice does not count as one of those two things. So it's not really a cocktail. It's just peppermint creme de menthe. Like that's it. That's basically like taking a shot of peppermint schnapps. It's the same kind of thing, just greener. I don't think I've seen the actors that were in this film in anything before, so I don't have much context for them. But everything I've ever seen Geraldine Chaplin in all of the languages that she speaks, is always amazing. So she's just always worth watching. Which brings us to no, one last thing. So one of the commentaries that I read that is supposedly in this film is its way in which the oppression that the country was feeling caused it to get fixated on the rest of the Western world, and sort of similar to post-war Japan you had a lot of people looking to America and looking to England and looking to sort of the mod fashions and things. And one of Chaplin's characters is very much styling herself as close to sort of a mod woman as she can. Um, and on top of that, they add sort of Spanish mod songs. They weren't songs that I recognized, and then there were a few, I think either American or British or English language, sort of rock songs put in there also, or rock pop, to sort of show the way that these characters are trying to get through their lives through the culture of other countries. And I thought that added an interesting layer to um, the film because there's the manipulation of the two women and then the manipulation of the circumstances of the people in the country that they're stuck in. So there's a lot going on in this film. It's not available on DVD, so you're only going to get to watch it if you have Filmstruck for the next day. So find it. Um, the next one I watched was called Cría Cuervos. Cría Cuervos. I don't speak Spanish. Cría Cuervos. Cría Cuervos. I hope I said that right. Oh God. So it's based on the title comes from a where'd it go? A proverb called Cría Cuervos y te sacarán los ojos, which is raise ravens and they'll take out your eyes. Dark. It's a dark film. It's a dark family film following a girl named Anna, played by Anna Torrent, who's the little girl from Spirit of the Beehive, which is again another one of the great Spanish films of the 70s. Her parents have died. She envisions her mother, played by Geraldine Chaplin, throughout the film. She also, we are presented the older version of Anna, sort of commentating on the situation and saying like, yeah, this happened, but I was feeling this way and things like that, where she's adding explanations, but it doesn't feel like it takes away from the mystery of what you're seeing. Instead, it adds another layer. But also having the young girl, the older version of her, and her mom all sort of being the same and not the same is definitely saying something. So she, after the kids have died or her parents have died, she is living with her aunt and her invalid grandmother with her two siblings. And as young girls do, they play, but they play really weird games. One game where they dress up like their mother and their father, and then they play act out a fight that they must have overheard many times. It's a bit terrifying. And then the girl herself thinks maybe she killed her father with poison. She later finds out the poison's not actually poison, and attempts to kill other people with this poison. And then her grief manifests in her wishing that she would die. If other people can't die, again, other people that she doesn't like can't die just like her parents did, then she should be the one who dies. And it's really dark and sad, and yet really true to the sort of struggles of being a young person. For most people, have traumatic things happen to them when you're young because everything's new and you feel everything so intensely, and everything is just so scary because you don't know what it is, and fear comes from the unknown. But then you add on top of that intense um, familial drama or trauma, and you get an even darker sort of situation in your life. And then on top of that, you get the country in which she's living in and her inability to really understand why the adults are behaving the way they're behaving because of the oppression that they're all under. So you have many, many layers of strife going on in this girl's life, and she's 8. It's a lot to deal with when you're 8. And then much like Peppermint Frappé, this film uses a pop song to really underscore how this girl is feeling, and the lyrics are really wonderful and illustrate sort of an even deeper look into her psyche and why she would love this song so much. And it comes up throughout the film, and the song is one of those ones that has lyrics that are much sadder than the tune in order to evoke mixed feelings. And the film does a great job of balancing sort of camp moments with true trauma. Um, Utterly brilliant depiction of what it's like to just feel sad as a child, and but to also attempt to still have fun, because childhood is fun and awful all in one go, and this film really captures that well, and the way in which you wish, the parents in your life would die, but then you also kind of don't. But then what happens when they do? And there's just, again, a lot going on. And much like the previous film, there's still layers of political commentary thrown in here as parallels to what is happening to the girls. Both these films are beautiful and lovely and contain amazing performances from Geraldine Chaplin. And I'm glad that I finally watched something from this filmmaker. He's one of Spain's, most renowned filmmakers. And I've seen some Buñuel and I've seen a lot of Almodovar, but I've never seen Saura. So this was a good sort of way to dip my toes into this. Hopefully, I'll find more of his films later. This was Peppermint Frappé and Cría Cuervos. I really hope I said that right. Um, Carlos Saura, they're on Filmstruck right now. There's only one more day left on Filmstruck. I don't know if I'm going to get any movies watched tomorrow. I have a lot of work and evening things, and I'm stressed. But I managed to watch, if you watched all of these videos, bless you, but I managed to watch, I think, 226 features and shorts, plus some special features during this journey. So, it was worth it. So many films. I really enjoyed them. And if this is the last one that I watched on the service, it might be, because it was such a good one that I think it's a good way to say goodbye. But the good thing is, films might be hard to find, but as long as they're available somewhere, somehow you can track them down, and it's just nice to know they exist. And then someday you'll watch them. They're all the films someday you'll watch them, and that's my goal in life, is just to watch all the films. And I have faith that the films will come to me when it's the right time for me to see them. So maybe it wasn't the right time for me to see these other 1,800 films or whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed watching your way through world cinema on Filmstruck and Criterion Channel as much as I did. And I'm glad I ended the day here in Spain.